He hears the scrape before he sees her, nails scratching dry earth, a small shape crouched by the ditch. Dust hangs low. His boots stop. The world narrows to her hands, clawing a hole and pulling out a gray root. "Hey," he says. Her head jerks. Mud masks her cheeks. She hugs the root and waits without breathing. "I'm not here to take anything," he says. "You're hungry." She shakes her head. It is a lie that tightens his stomach. "What's your name?" Her lips press together. She glances past him to the empty road and the scrub fence. "Got water," he says. He lifts his canteen. "You can have it." She looks at his hands first, then the canteen, then his hands again. She inches closer on her knees, takes it, and sips so careful his own throat aches. "Easy," he says. "There's more." She stops. "Mama said not to drink a lot at once." "Your mama close." She shakes her head. "How long have you been out here?" "Till you came." He crouches. His knees crack. "You're waiting for me." She nods, a small motion like a bird settling. "Mama told me to wait for you here." He keeps his face still for a moment. The road lies empty both ways. He scans the fence line and the stump. The hairs on his arms rise the way they did before a shell landed. "You know me," he says. "No." "You know my name." "No." "What did your mama say?" "She said you would come. She said thank you and went with you. She said, do not run if you hear men laughing. She said, do not speak a full name. She said, watch the window." "What window?" She looks past him again, as if a window could float there. She sets the gray root in her lap like a doll. "You eat that?" he asks. "Sometimes you boil it." "You've been boiling anything." "No." He rises and offers his hand. She flinches, then stills. He lowers it, palms open. "Okay," he says. "You can walk. My place isn't far." "You live alone?" "Yes." "You got a dog?" "No." "Good." He steps across the ditch. There are other scrapes in the soil, small holes like she tried the ground in many places and found nothing. A strip of cloth hangs on a thorn. He folds it into his pocket. "What's in your pocket?" she asks. "Nothing you need to fear." "You talk like the bad ones." "What bad ones?" "The ones who smile and do not smile." "Did they touch you?" "No." "Too fast." "They touched Mama." He nods once. No promise, no prayer. "Come on," he says. "You can keep the canteen." She stands. The dress hangs on her like a scarecrow. One hand holds the strap, the other keeps the root. "You were a soldier," she says. "Was." "You still walk like one." "Hard to forget." "Can you forget my mama?" "No." They take the fence path that bends toward the hills. Grass hisses along their legs. A vulture circle. "What do I call you?" she asks. "You can call me Mr." "Mr. what?" "Just Mr." They walk until a wash cuts the path. He lifts her across, careful of the canteen. She is light in his hands. It feels wrong, the way light things do when the world owes them weight. "Where is your mama now?" he asks. "Close and far." "Did she tell you to say that?" "She said use small words so they slide off men." His cabin sits beyond the next stand of trees, low and plain. The chimney cuts a thin line. "Do you believe in curses?" she asks. "No." "Mama said curses are secrets that learned how to walk." He does not answer. A ribbon ties to a low fence nail ahead, pale from the sun. She stops and touches it, then walks again. "Men will come," she says. "When?" "Soon." "How many?" "Enough to laugh." He measures the ground between the rise and the door. He notes the places where a man could wait. "You scared?" he asks. "No." "You're lying." "Yes." "It is okay." The trees give shade. The cabin shows itself. Rough boards, one window, a door scarred by hands that knocked too hard. The yard is empty. The water barrel sits dark. "You got food?" she asks. "Yes." "Mama said do not eat until you look out the window." "We will watch the window." "If I sleep, will you listen?" "I will." "If I speak wrong, will you still listen?" "Yes." She nods. "Then I will go with you." He steps onto the porch. The boards answer with a sound. He finds the key under the plank, fits it to the lock, and turns it. The door breathes. The girl stands close enough. Her shoulder touches his leg. He looks at the single window and sees the yard reflected in the dusty glass, a square of light that will show a face before it shows a hand. "Ready?" he asks. She tightens her grip on the canteen. I was told to be. He sets the loaf down, still warm from the morning's bakehouse in town. The knife rests beside it. The girl sits in the chair across from him, feet not touching the floor, hands folded in her lap. She doesn't look at the bread. She looks at the window. You can eat, he says. She doesn't move. Are you hungry? She blinks. No. You were digging in the dirt for a root. I wasn't hungry then either. He leans back, lets the chair creak. Does your mom teach you that kind of answer? She turns her eyes toward him, slow and steady. She said not to eat until I know who's looking in. Who's looking in now? She shifts, just enough to show the corner of the window in her sight. No one yet. He cuts the bread, thick slices that steam when they fall. He sets one in front of her. She stares at it, then back to the glass. You trust me? He asks. No. That's smart. Her fingers twitch, but don't reach. He pushes the plate closer. What's your mama's name? Her lips part like she's about to lie. Then she says it. One word. It lands between them like a shell. He hears the ringing in his head. He hadn't said that name in years. Didn't think he'd hear it again, except in a graveyard. Say it again. She does. Same tone, same rhythm. Where is she? His voice drops. She's close. Close how? The girl leans forward. She's listening. He glances at the window. Nothing but the yard and the barrel. You're telling me she's alive? Yes. Then why isn't she here? They told her she couldn't come. They? The ones with the white stars. The words press cold into his chest. You know them? They know you. He stands, walks to the window, and looks out. Just the dirt yard, the fence, the tree line. They tell you what to say. Number Mama did. He turns back. What else did she tell you? If you see him, tell him the name. If he remembers, go with him. If he doesn't, run. And if I remember? She glances at the bread. Then I'm already in trouble. He takes the plate back, eats the slice himself. You're too young to be in trouble. I was born in trouble. Her voice is flat, but her eyes hold something older than she is. Why'd she send you here? She said you don't owe them anymore. She said you can fight without them knowing you're fighting. He sits again, elbows on the table. How long have you been on your own? I wasn't alone, not at first. Who will? The others. What others? She shakes her head. If I tell you, you'll hear them. He doesn't ask again. Have you ever seen your mama hurt? Her throat moves before she answers. Yes. He doesn't push. Outside, a breeze lifts the edge of the curtain. She watches it like it's a signal. You see something? She doesn't answer. He steps to the window, peers out again. Still nothing. But the road feels heavier now, as if someone might walk it soon. You'll sleep here tonight, he says. I don't sleep. Then you'll rest. I'll watch the window. You'll rest. She looks at him long enough to test the command. Then she nods once. He moves to the cupboard, pulls out a jar of beans, a tin of coffee. Tomorrow we'll go to town. No. You don't want to. I'm not supposed to. Why? They'll see me. Are you afraid of being seen? Number, I'm afraid of what they'll do when they see you with me. He pauses, hand on the jar lid. I can handle that. That's what Mama said before they broke her hands. He closes the cupboard. Are you sure she's alive? Yes. Her certainty is clean, unshaken. You'll eat later, he says. Maybe. I'll keep you safe. That's not what Mama asked. What did she ask? She said make sure you remember. She said remembering is the only weapon you have left. He pulls out a chair beside her. And you think I forgot? I think they made you. The words hit like grit in his teeth. Have you ever heard a gunshot? He asks. Yes. Are you afraid of them? No. Good. Why good? Because if men come here, I'll need you to stay still when it happens. She nods. The room settles into quiet. She keeps her eyes on the glass, the window's square reflection holding the pale light of the yard. He watches her more than the outside, waiting for whatever she's waiting for. He takes the long road into town, the girl walking half a step behind him, her fingers hooked in the back of his coat. The dirt gives way to worn boards as they cross the bridge into the square. The clock above the feed store hasn't worked in years, but it still points to noon. People watch. They always do. He nods to none of them. The girl's eyes move only once toward the far edge where a white house stands behind trimmed hedges. They reach the sheriff's office. He pushes the door open. The hinges cry. The air inside smells of paper and old coffee. The sheriff sits behind the desk, hat tipped back, boots crossed on the corner. His eyes slide from the ex-soldier to the girl, then back again. "What can I do for you?" the sheriff asks. "Have you seen her before?" The sheriff tilts his head. "Don't believe so." "She's been digging for food outside town. Somebody's missing her." "Not from my books." The sheriff picks up a ledger, flips a page slowly. "Ain't nobody reported a lost one. She says her mama's gone. Plenty of folks have left lately." Times being what they are, the girl presses closer to him, her small hand tightening on his coat. "You sure you've never seen her?" the ex-soldier says. The sheriff's eyes narrow just enough to catch it. "You calling me a liar?" "I'm asking you to look again." The sheriff leans forward, the boots drop to the floor. He studies the girl for a long breath, then shrugs. "Sorry, doesn't ring a bell." The girl speaks low, almost under her breath. "Mama said they'd say that." He looks down at her, then back at the sheriff. "You see a woman with her face. Same eyes." "Nope." The sheriff leans back again. The chair creaks. "Are you looking to stir something?" "I'm looking for the truth." The sheriff grins without humor. "Truth's not on the docket today." He turns and leaves before the air can get thicker. The girl keeps her eyes on the floorboards until they're outside. They walk down the boardwalk, past the barber's, past the store with the locked glass case. The girl tugs at his coat. "What?" he says. "They'll see you now." He stops. "Who?" She points without lifting her head. The white house across the square glows in the weak sun, blinds drawn tight except for one narrow slit. "You know who lives there?" She nods. "Tell me." "No." "Why not?" "You'll walk there anyway." He studies her face. "You think I should. I think you can't stop yourself." They cross the square. He feels the eyes before he sees the curtain shift. A figure moves inside. "Are you sure about this?" he asks her. She doesn't answer. The gate opens with a groan. The path to the porch is lined with roses too perfect for the season. He knocks. The door opens just enough for an old woman to appear, her face sharp, eyes quick. Her gaze goes past him, fixes on the girl. Then her mouth tightens, and she shuts the door without a word. He knocks again. "Ma'am, I need to ask you—" The sound of a bolt sliding home cuts him off. The girl's voice is steady. "Mama said if she closes the door, she's not alone in there." He steps off the porch, circles around the side yard. The girl follows. The grass is too short, trimmed in straight lines. No toys, no clothes on a line, just the smell of damp earth near the back. A small door is set low into the wall, a cellar entrance. A heavy chain and a new padlock hold it shut. "You know this place?" he asks. She nods. "Who's in there?" She looks at the chain. "Not Mama." The lock is solid. He tugs at it once, enough to feel its strength. "We'll come back," he says. "They'll know you touched it." He straightens, scans the back windows. No faces now, but the curtain upstairs moves again, slow as breath. They head back to the street. Her grip never loosens. He feels her eyes turning to the house, even after they've left it behind. "Where to next?" she asks. "You tell me." She points toward the road out of town. "Away." "Not yet," he says. She shakes her head. "They've already seen you." Now it starts. They wait until the square empties. The sun slips behind the church steeple, throwing the white house into a long shadow. He stands at the edge of the path, hands loose at his sides, eyes on the drawn curtains. "You sure?" he asks. The girl nods. "She's in there." He takes the steps slowly, boards creaking under his weight. The knock is heavy enough to carry, but not enough to draw the neighbors. The door opens halfway. The same old woman, face carved deep with lines, eyes sharp as nails. Her gaze lands on him, holds a beat too long, then shifts to the girl. Recognition flickers. Her jaw tightens. The door slams before he speaks. The bolt slides home with a sound that settles in his chest like a stone. He exhales through his nose. "Not the welcome I was hoping for." "She knows you," the girl says. "Maybe." "Not maybe. She remembers you from before." He steps off the porch. "Before what?" "Before they made you forget." They move around the side yard. The grass is cut to the same short length as before, edges too neat. The air smells faintly of damp clay. The girl points. There, set into the wall, half buried under a slope of dirt, is a cellar door. Thick planks, dark with age. A steel bolt runs across the center, padlocked tight. He crouches, fingers brushing the metal. It's cold, newer than the wood it binds. "Who's in there?" he asks. "Not Mama." "How do you know?" "Because if she was, she'd be singing." He glances at her, then at the lock. "Have you been here before?" "Yes." "When?" "When they told her not to look out of the window." He runs his thumb along the bolt. The chain links show no rust. Someone comes here often enough to keep it fresh. "Have you tried to open it before?" "Yes." "What happened?" "They told me if I did again, they'd bury me with the others." He straightens, eyes scanning the back windows. One curtain flutters in the upstairs room, just a narrow movement, then stillness. "They're watching," he says. "Yes." He walks to the end of the yard, checking the fence line. Too tall to see over, too well kept to be forgotten. "You think we can get in?" she asks. "Yes." "When?" "Not now." Her mouth presses into a thin line. "Then they'll have time to move them." "Maybe," he says. "Maybe they think I won't come back." "They'll know you will." He steps close to the cellar door again, eyes on the bolt. "If we come back at night, you keep to the shadows. No noise." "I know how." "I believe you." They head toward the front again. The yard feels heavier now, like the air's been drawn too thick. When they reach the gate, the girl stops and looks back. She's still at the window. He doesn't turn, but he knows. He can feel the weight of a stare, same as in the field before the shot came. On the road, the houses thin out. The girl's steps quicken to match his. "You going to tell me what's in there?" he asks. "Not until you open it." "That's not how I work." "That's the only way it works now." They pass the edge of town, the dirt road stretching open ahead. He hears a door shut behind them, faint but sharp in the cooling air. "You think they'll follow?" she asks. "Yes." "How far?" "Far enough to see where we go." She glances over her shoulder. "They don't need to follow. They already know." He doesn't answer. The sky bleeds orange over the hills. They walk in silence until the cabin comes into view. "You still want to go back?" he asks. "Yes." "You understand what we might find?" "Yes." "You're not afraid?" "I am." "Good," he says. "Fear keeps you alive." She looks at him, eyes steady. "Fear's what got us here." They step up onto the porch. He unlocks the door, pushes it open. The room smells of the bread left on the table. He closes. The door behind them slides the bar across. The girl walks to the window, peers out at the yard as if expecting a shadow to move. He lights the lamp, its glow catching the dust in the air. "We'll need tools," he says. "What kind?" "Ones that break locks." "Do you have them?" "Yes." She nods once. "Then we go tonight." He studies her, the stillness in her voice. "Have you ever seen what's inside a place like that?" "Yes." "Tell me." "No." He lets the silence stretch, then moves to the cupboard. The crowbar leans in the corner, worn at the grip. "You carry the light," he says. "Okay." They sit in the dim, waiting for the sun to fall. Outside, the night thickens slowly, the kind that makes sound carry. When the last line of light is gone from the hills, he stands. "Time," he says. She slips off the chair, canteen over her shoulder. They step out into the dark. The road back to the White House opening ahead, like a wound waiting to be touched. The night is thin and quiet, the kind that makes every footstep sound sharper than it should. He walks ahead, crowbar wrapped in a strip of burlap so it doesn't clink against the buckle at his belt. The girl follows close, her breath short, almost silent. The road into town is just a pale vein in the dark, the moon low enough that its light slides off the fence rails without touching the ground. When the White House comes into view, it looks more like a shape cut from the night than a place someone could live. Curtains pulled tight, no glow from inside, no creak of a board or rattle of glass. The roses along the fence are shadows now, stiff as wire. "You see anyone?" he asks over his shoulder. "No." "You sure?" She doesn't even blink. "Yes." He leads her around the back, steps deliberate, feet rolling over the ground to keep the grass from whispering. The slope is still damp from an earlier rain, the smell of wet clay stronger now than it had been in daylight. The cellar door waits at the bottom like it's been holding its breath. The chain catches what little moonlight there is. "You watch the house," he says. "I will." He drops to a knee, working the crowbar under the bolt. The metal protests with a slow groan. He stops listening. The only sound is the faint sigh of leaves overhead. He presses again, the bolt giving way with a final crack. "The upstairs curtain just moved," she says. He glances up, following her gaze. "Which window?" "Left side." He waits, eyes locked on the square of dark above. No more movement. "Keep your eyes there." The padlock is new, heavier than it needs to be. He sets the crowbar's claw under the shackle, leans his weight until it snaps with a muffled pop. The chain hangs loose. He lifts the door. Hinges squeal, but only once before settling. A breath of air rolls out from inside, damp, metallic, the kind of scent that clings to clothes and skin long after you leave it. He takes the lamp from his coat, turns the wick just high enough to cut the dark without spilling light into the yard. The cellar walls are close, lined with rough boards sweating with moisture. The floor is uneven earth, worn flat in a strip between the steps and the far wall. In the corner, a cot leans on a rusted frame, the thin blanket folded with exact, joyless care. The mattress is sunken in the middle, the fabric rubbed to thread. He moves closer. Rings are set low in the boards, and the wood around them is scarred with deep, charred grooves. Rope had been here, tight enough to burn. He presses a finger to the edge of one mark. The splinter lifts fresh, no older than a few weeks. Beside the cot, a tin plate lies tipped against the wall, its rim rusted. A spoon rests inside, bent nearly in half. He can't tell if it was done in frustration or just worn down by too many hands. Against the opposite wall, a shelf holds a bucket, its contents sour in the air. Above it, a single nail juts out, holding a scrap of cloth no larger than his palm. The fabric is frayed, stained in places, but along the hem, faint letters remain. The start of a name. He slides the cloth free and folds it into his pocket. Light in the hallway. The girl calls down in a whisper. He turns the lamp off. The dark is sudden, heavy. He stays still, hearing it now. Boards creaking above, the sound of weight moving slow and careful. "Where?" he whispers back. "Downstairs. It's gone now." He makes for the steps, pushing the cellar door just enough to slip through. She's crouched low, eyes fixed on the house. "Someone's inside," she says. "Not for long." He pulls the chain back through the bolt, letting it hang in place so it looks untouched. The broken lock goes in his coat. They move toward the gate, keeping low along the hedge. Halfway across the yard, he risks a glance back. The upstairs curtain has opened just a sliver, and a figure stands behind it, still as stone. "Don't look," he tells her. "I already did." The road feels wider in the dark, the White House shrinking behind them, but never out of mind. "You think they'll check tonight?" she asks. "Not until they're ready to move what's left." "Where will they take them?" He doesn't answer. By the time they reach the cabin, the moon has slipped behind clouds. Inside, he lights the lamp low, sets the cloth scrap on the table. "You know this?" he asks. Her eyes find the stitching immediately. "Mama's dress." His jaw tightens. That means she was there. She doesn't look away. "I told you." He nods slowly. "We'll go back, but not the same way." She keeps her eyes on the cloth. "They'll be ready for you now." They should be. The wind shifts outside, carrying the faintest trace of damp earth and roses, like the cellar following them home. They wait 2 nights before going back, long enough for the house to forget the sound of the bolt breaking, short enough that whoever was inside the cellar might still be there. The girl doesn't speak on the walk, just keeps her eyes forward, coat pulled tight, her hand hooked in his sleeve. The yard is colder this time, air holding the kind of stillness that feels set on purpose. He works the chain and lock faster now, keeping the crowbars scrape low. When the door opens, the same breath of damp and metal spills out. "You watch the windows," he tells her. "I will." He drops into the cellar. The lamp pushes back the dark in a narrow cone. The cot sits where it had before, the blanket neat. He kneels, fingers feeling under the frame. The wood bites his knuckles. Something soft and dry brushes against his hand. Paper. He pulls it free. The envelope is thick, edges curled from water. His name is there, written in a hand he hasn't seen in years. The loops and slant exact. Above it, in smaller print, the name of his old unit. His throat tightens. He glances toward the stairs, then sits on the cot. The paper gives a soft crack as he unfolds it. The first line stops him. "If you're reading this, they didn't find it first." Her mother's words move fast and sharp, no wasted space. She writes of debts owed to the men with the white star pins, debts paid not in money, but in people. She writes of betrayal by someone he once stood beside in uniform, and how that man now keeps her in sight, never letting her leave the county lines. They think you're gone. Let them. If you come back, don't trust the sheriff. Don't trust the church. Don't trust anyone who stands too still when you speak. The family will always know before you do. They have someone in every room. She warns of names spoken in public, of eyes that watch from unlit porches. She writes that the cellar isn't the only one, that there are places like it in the hills, in barns, in the ground under empty houses. If she's with you, keep her close. They'll want her more than they want me. She's proof I didn't break. His grip tightens on the paper. The lamp flickers. Someone's moving. The girl calls down. He slides the letter into his coat and kills the light. "Where?" he asks. "Same window as before. Curtains open now." He moves to the stairs, climbs without sound. Outside, she stands low in the grass, eyes locked on the upstairs dark. "Did you find anything?" she asks. "Yes." "What?" "Something your mama wanted me to have." Her face doesn't change, but she shifts closer to him. "Then they'll know you have it. They'd have to come down here to see me find it." "They don't need to." He closes the cellar door, sets the chain loose so it hangs like before. They slip back toward the gate. The air feels heavier, the shadows along the hedge thicker. On the road, he doesn't speak until the house is far. Behind them, "Your mama wrote to me." The girl's head tilts. "When?" "Recently. She knew you'd come back. She told me not to trust the sheriff. Or the church. She's right. She told me the family has someone in every room." The girl nods once. "And every road." He looks down at her. "She says they want you more than they want her." Her jaw tightens. "Then we can't stay here." "We're not leaving. Not yet." She stops walking. "If we wait, they'll take you too. They've tried before. They weren't ready before." He doesn't answer. By the time they reach the cabin, the letter feels heavier in his coat than the crowbar in his hand. Inside, he lights the lamp low, takes the paper out, and lays it on the table. She stands across from him, eyes moving over the lines, lips pressing into a thin line. "She wrote this in the cellar?" he asks. "She wrote it when they took her there the first time." "How many times?" "3. He leans back. "She said there are other cellars. In the hills. In barns. She told me that too. She said if you find one, you'll find the others." He studies the last line again. "She's proof I didn't break." "You know what that means?" he asks. "She thinks I'm still hers." She's right. The lamp hums in the quiet. Outside, the wind rattles the loose plank on the porch. He folds the letter, tucks it back into his coat. "Tomorrow, we will start looking for the next one." She doesn't move from the table. "They'll be looking for you tonight." "They can look," he says. "They won't find me before I find them." They sit at the table long after the lamp's oil should have burned out. The letter is back in his coat, but its weight still presses between them. The girl's hands are folded in her lap, fingers picking at each other until he finally says, "Tell me about them." She doesn't look up. "You already know." "I want to hear it from you." "They come after dark, always after dark." "How many?" "4 that night, sometimes more." "They wear the pins?" "Yes." "White stars, always on the left side." His jaw tightens. "What did they say to your mama?" "They told her to walk with them." "And you?" "She said I had to stay. She said it was soft, but her eyes weren't soft. She said if I moved, I'd be next." He leans forward. "She fights?" The girl shakes her head. "She didn't have time. One of them had her by the arm before the door shut." "Where were you?" "In the corner under the table." "You see their faces?" "Yes, all but one." "What do you mean?" "The last one stayed outside. He watched the road. Never looked inside, just stood there with his hand on his belt." He knows that stance. He's seen it in heat and dust, on roads far from here, in men who could wait all day for the right second to move. "They take her to the house." "Yes." "Which house?" "You know which." His mouth goes dry. "The white one on the square." She nods. The image comes back hard. The badge with the white star. worn by a man who'd stood in his doorway years ago with a smile too wide. A man offering money for silence, money for forgetting something that wasn't meant to be seen. He'd turned it down. They'd left without raising their voices, but the message had been clear. Next time, they wouldn't knock. He pushes back from the table and stands, pacing to the window. The yard is still, but every shadow feels like it could hold a man leaning just out of sight. You know what that star means? He asks. It means they own this place. They think they do. They do. Not for long. Her voice sharpens. You can't stop them. I can try. That's not the same. He turns back to her. Then tell me how they've kept it this long. Because people here think the stars are law, and the ones who don't think that stay quiet because they've seen what happens to people who speak. He sits again, his voice low. What happens? They go away, sometimes for a night, sometimes forever, and if they come back, they're not the same. He studies her face, the way she says it without shaking. Has your mom ever come back differently? Not yet. The lamp flickers. He leans his elbows on the table. Years ago, they tried to buy me. She tilts her head. Why didn't you take it? Because I knew what they'd want next. She nods like she's heard this before, but her eyes keep moving toward the window. Are you expecting someone? He asks. Not yet. He knows better than to press. When they took her, what did you do? I waited until the road was quiet, then I went to the hill. What hill? The one where you can see the house without being seen. He imagines her small shape crouched in the grass, watching the white house with its curtains drawn, maybe seeing the same flicker of movement he has. You stay there all night? Yes. See anything? Once. The upstairs window opened. I heard a voice but couldn't tell if it was hers. He nods slowly. And you've been running since? I wasn't running. I was waiting. For me? Yes. The quiet after that is heavier than before. He stands again, restless. You know where the rest of them live? Some, not all. You'll show me. She hesitates, then nods. But not until you're ready. I'm ready now. Number not yet. You're angry. I've been angry for a long time. Not like this. This is new. She's right. It's not the sharp, hot anger from before. It's slower, heavier, spreading through him like fever, deliberate and patient. The kind that doesn't burn out. He moves to the cupboard, takes down the rifle, checks the chamber. What are you doing? She asks. Making sure when I'm ready I don't have to wait. They'll hear that gun before they see you. They'll hear it after it's too late. She watches him, then says, if you go after them, you can't stop halfway. I won't. You can't stop even if she's already gone. His grip tightens. She's not gone. The girl says nothing, just keeps her eyes on him, waiting for him to believe it. He sets the rifle down and leans on the table. Tomorrow, you tell me everything you know about the White Star family. Every name, every place. She nods once. And then? Then we take one away from them. Outside, the night holds its breath. The knock comes hard enough to rattle the lamp glass. 1, 2, 3. Then silence. He doesn't move right away. The girl's eyes find his, wide but steady. Under the bed, he says. She's gone before the next knock, sliding into the shadow where no one will see her unless they crawl on the floor. He opens the door just enough to fill the space. The sheriff stands there, hat low, badge catching the lamplight. No smile. Evening, the sheriff says. Late for a visit. Late for keeping what isn't yours. You mean the bread I bought in town? The sheriff's gaze drifts past him toward the table, then to the dark corners of the cabin. I mean the girl. Don't have a girl here. You walked her through town. Then maybe you saw something wrong. I don't see anything wrong. They stand in the doorway, the wind moving between them, carrying the faint smell of pine and wood smoke. She's not yours to keep, the sheriff says. She's not yours to take. The sheriff tilts his head. Are you planning to make this ugly? I don't plan to make it anything. The sheriff shifts his weight. You remember the last time we had words. I remember you leaving my door without her. Different situation. Not to me. A pause stretches long enough for the night to settle heavier. The sheriff's hand rests on his belt, near the holster, but not touching it. Don't do something you can't take back, the sheriff says. That goes both ways. You're going to lose her. Maybe, but it won't be to you. The sheriff's jaw works. You're not the only one who's seen war. Difference is, he says, you brought yours home. The air tightens. Neither man moves. The sheriff's eyes narrow just enough to show he's weighing something. Then he steps back, boots creaking against the porch boards. This isn't over, he says. It wasn't over the last time either. The sheriff turns, walking slowly down the steps. The sound of his boots fades toward the yard. He waits, hand still on the doorframe, listening. The wind shifts. Then another creak. Not from the steps, but from the side of the cabin in the grass. He closes the door, slides the bar into place. Stay where you are, he says. The girl's voice comes soft from under the bed. He's not gone. I know. You saw him. He's walking the yard. What's he looking for? Anything he can use. She's quiet for a moment. He's not alone. He moves to the window, keeping low. Out past the fence, a shadow moves against the darker line of the trees. Too tall for a fence post, too still for an animal. How many, he asks. 2. 1 at the trees, 1 on the road. He lets the curtain fall back into place. They won't try anything tonight. How do you know? Because they want to watch first. The girl crawls out from under the bed, brushing dust from her dress. They'll come when they think you're sleeping. Then I won't sleep. He checks the rifle leaning by the wall, then the revolver in the drawer, both loaded, both close. The sheriff's voice comes again from outside, not at the door this time, but drifting in through the thin wall. She's not safe here. She's safer here than anywhere you'd put her, he calls back. Silence. Then the sound of boots in the grass again, slower, moving toward the road. He waits until even that fades before speaking. He'll go back to town, make a call, find out how far he can push. He already knows, the girl says. Then he'll test it. She steps to the window, peeking through the edge of the curtain. He's still watching. He knows she's right. Men like the sheriff don't walk away from a door unless they've left something behind. A shadow, a question, a warning. He blows out the lamp, leaving the room in the dark. We'll keep quiet tonight. No fire, no light. She nods, folding herself into the chair nearest the wall. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow we move first. Outside, the night closes in again, but the weight in the yard doesn't lift. The boards still hold the memory of the sheriff's boots. And somewhere past the fence, the slow patience of men who've bled on different ground waits for the right time to step forward. They work at first light, before the frost lifts off the grass. The barn's boards lean with age, silvered in the cold, its shadow stretching long behind it. The girl walks ahead, her steps sure, as if she's been counting them in her head. Here, she says. It's just ground to him. Rough dirt, a scatter of weeds, but she kneels and presses her palm flat. It's under here. He brings the shovel, drives it into the earth. The first cut bites easy. The second meets something harder. He works slowly, lifting clods aside, the air filling with the smell of damp soil. How do you know? He asks. I've been here before. When? When they weren't looking. He keeps digging. The dirt changes color, darkens. The shovel hits something flat and unyielding. He clears the edges with his boot. Stone. He brushes more soil away until the circle of it shows, weathered, chipped in places. A well cap. No one's drawn water here in years, he says. It's not for water. He finds the lip, works his fingers under the slab, and with a grunt, shifts it just enough to lean against the barn wall. Cold air breathes up from below. It smells of stone and rot. He leans over. The shaft drops into shadow, but not far. His eyes adjust. At the bottom, resting against the curve of the stones, is a burlap sack, darkened with age. Next to it, pale shapes that aren't stone. He lowers the rope, knots it around the shovel, and eases himself down. The girl stays above, watching the yard. The well's stones are slick, but he makes it to the bottom. The burlap crackles when he touches it. The weave brittle under his gloves. He pulls it open. Inside, scraps of cloth, buttons still clinging, and the faint glint of a shoe buckle. No food, no tools, just things someone once wore. Beside the sack lie the bones, small, fragile. The size stops him. His breath catches in the cold air. He crouches, the weight of the space pressing on his back. From above, her voice drifts down. Not Mama. He looks up at her, the circle of daylight and narrow frame for her face. Then who? The ones who didn't leave. He swallows, looks back at the bones. The shoe buckle is bent as if crushed under weight. "You've been down here before?" "Number, I just knew it wasn't her." He closes the sack, ties it with the rope, and calls for her to pull. She drags it up, her small frame straining, but she doesn't stop until it's over the lip. When he climbs out, the air feels heavier than when they started. The sack sits beside the hole, the bones still inside. "Why show me this?" he asks. "Because you have to know what they do when no one's watching." He wipes the dirt from his gloves. "You think the sheriff knows?" "They all know." He looks at the barn, its slanting roof, the loose boards that whisper when the wind touches them. This was theirs. Yes. He moves to the well, stares down into the shadow. "How many?" She doesn't answer. He turns back to her. "How many?" Her voice is thin. "Enough to fill it twice." He sets the cap back in place, the stone grinding against the rim. "We can't leave this here. They'll move it if we try. Then we move first." He drags the sack toward the barn. She follows, her eyes scanning the fence line. "Someone's out there," she says. "Where?" "By the trees." He stops, listens. The faint crack of a branch, too deliberate for wind. "Inside," he says. They slip into the barn. The air smells of dust and old. Hay. Light falls through gaps in the boards, striping the floor. He sets the sack in the far corner, covers it with a tattered tarp. "We'll come back for it tonight," he says. "If it's still here," she says, "it'll be here." He stands at the door, watching the yard. A shadow shifts at the edge of the trees, then disappears. "You think it's him?" she asks. "Could be. Or one of the others." He grips the door frame. "Either way, they're not getting this back." She looks toward the barn wall, her voice low. "It's not the first hole I've shown someone, but it's the first time someone didn't walk away after." He meets her eyes. "I'm not walking away." The wind outside picks up, rattling the loose tin on the roof. Somewhere beyond the fence, a boot scrapes against dirt. "They'll come tonight," she says. He nods. "Then we'll be ready." The barn holds the quiet, the well behind it sealed again, but the weight of what lies below doesn't lift. It stays in the air between them, heavy as the sack hidden in the corner, waiting for the night to come. The word comes quiet, passed from a man he trusts just enough to hear. The governor's having company tonight. No handbills, no public talk. Just the ones who matter, all under one roof. He knows what that means. He sits at the table, the letter open in front of him. The ink has dried into the paper, like it was always meant to be there. Her mother's words, sharp as the day they were written, burn against the inside of his skull. The girl watches him. "You're going." "Yes." "You'll need me." "Not tonight." "You think I can't help?" "I think they'll use you if you're there." Her eyes narrow. "Where will I be?" "With someone who won't hand you over." She studies him like she's weighing that truth. "Who?" "Old place by the mill. A man named Carter. Owes me twice over." "He's scared of them." "He's scared of me." She considers, then nods once. "If I hear anything, I'll come." "You won't hear anything." "You can't promise that." He doesn't answer. By dusk, the mill's shadow stretches across the river. Carter meets them at the door, eyes flicking from him to the girl. "She stays here," he says. Carter hesitates. "You're asking for trouble." "I'm not asking." Carter steps aside. The girl doesn't look back when she goes in, but her voice follows him. "Don't let them make you talk." He leaves her there. The governor's house sits high above the square, its porch lit with soft yellow that makes it look warmer than it is. Two men stand at the steps, white star pins catching the lamplight. He walks straight up. One of them blocks the way. Invitation. He reaches into his coat, pulls the letter halfway out so the seal on the paper shows. "Got one better." They glance at each other. Step. Aside inside, the air smells of roasted meat and polished wood. Voices hum low, the kind of talk that stays behind closed doors. The governor sits at the head of the long table, suit dark, hair silver, the star pin bright on his lapel. His eyes find the ex-soldier the moment he walks in. "Didn't expect to see you." The governor says, "Thought I'd return something." The governor gestures to an empty chair. "Sit, eat." "I'm not here to eat." The room stills. The men along the table glance between them. "You've been keeping busy," the governor says. "The same could be said for you." The governor's smile is slow, careful. "This isn't your field anymore." He pulls the letter from his coat and sets it on the table in front of the governor. "Recognize the hand?" The governor doesn't touch it. "What's your point?" She's alive. You've got her. And I know where you keep the others." A murmur runs down the table. One man shifts in his seat. Another clears his throat. "You should have stayed gone," the governor says. "You should have left her alone." The governor leans back. "I don't answer to you." "Then answer to them," he says, nodding to the men at the table. "Tell them what you've done. Tell them why you've got cellars under barns and children in wells." The governor's jaw tightens. "Watch yourself." "I've been watching for years, and I'm done." One of the men at the table speaks, voice low. "Is it true?" The governor's eyes cut to him. "Sit down." The man doesn't. Another voice joins. "We've all heard the stories." The governor's hand flattens on the table. "You think you can stand against me? You think this man is your friend?" "I'm not here to be their friend," the ex-soldier says. "I'm here to end you." Silence. The governor finally picks up the letter, unfolds it. His eyes move over the lines. For a moment, his face doesn't change. Then the corner of his mouth pulls tight. "You don't know what you've started," he says. "I know exactly." He turns from the table, walking toward the door. No one stops him. Not yet. On the porch, the night air cuts cold against his face. He can feel the weight of their stares behind him, the slow grind of a machine that's just been forced to a halt. He doesn't look back until he's at the gate. The governor still sits at the head of the table, letter in hand, the men around him shifting in their chairs. The white star pin glints under the light, but it doesn't shine as bright as it did when he walked in. The governor's hand hovers over his plate, the fork untouched. Conversation has thinned to a nervous hum, all eyes sliding toward the folded paper on the table between them. "You gonna open it," the ex-soldier says, voice low. The governor studies him for a long second, then flicks the seal with his thumb. The paper unfolds slow, the sound loud in the stillness. His eyes scan the first lines. The color in his face shifts just enough for the men at the table to notice. "What is it?" one of them asks. "Private matter," the governor says. The ex-soldier leans in. "Read it to them." The governor's gaze hardens. "No need." "Read it," he says again, softer but sharper. The sheriff sits halfway down the table, arms crossed. His jaw works as he watches the governor hesitate. Finally, the governor clears his throat and begins. The words spill into the room, her handwriting made into his voice. She writes of the cellar beneath the White House, of the chains and the rope burns. She names the barns, the wells. She names the nights and the faces that came with them. A man near the end of the table sets his glass down too hard. Another shifts in his chair, eyes narrowing. "This is fiction," the governor says, trying for a smile. "No," the ex-soldier says. "It's a record. She's not a reliable source. She's the only source that's still breathing." One of the older men leans forward. "These are heavy accusations." "They're truths," the ex-soldier says. The governor chuckles, but it's tight, forced. "You really think you can walk in here, wave a piece of paper, and undo decades?" "I don't have to. You're undoing it yourself." The sheriff's jaw tightens further. His eyes flick between the letter and the governor's face. "You were there," the ex-soldier says to him. "Tell them." The sheriff doesn't answer. The governor turns on him. "You gonna sit there and let this man talk like that?" The sheriff's voice is flat. "I'm gonna listen." A ripple moves down the table. Men who've spent years keeping their eyes down now look up, weighing which way the wind is turning. The ex-soldier presses on. "The debts you've been collecting aren't money. They're people. The pins you wear aren't pride. They're warning signs." "You don't understand the balance here," the governor says. "I understand it's been balanced on the backs of those who can't fight back." The governor laughs again, but it's thin. "And what do you plan to do? Shoot me in front of my own men?" "I plan to make sure they see you for what you are." The sheriff leans back, eyes never leaving the governor. Maybe he's already done that. The governor's hand curls into a fist on the tablecloth. "You forget who put you in that chair." "I remember," the sheriff says. "I also remember what it cost." The room feels smaller now, the air thick. Chairs creak as men shift, the weight of old loyalties cracking. "You think they'll follow you?" The governor says to the ex-soldier. "I don't need them to follow me. I just need them to stop following you." The governor tries to speak, but the sheriff cuts him off. "You've got a problem, and it's not just him. It's the things you've been hiding, The things too many of us have been willing to look away from. The governor's eyes narrow, searching the sheriff's face. "Careful, old friend." "I am," the sheriff says. No one moves, no one eats. The only sound is the slow tick of the clock on the far wall. The ex-soldier reaches for the letter, folds it, and tucks it back into his coat. "That's all I came to say." He stands. No one blocks his way to the door. At the threshold, he glances back. The sheriff's gaze is still locked on the governor, jaw tight enough to crack teeth. The governor's smile is gone, replaced by the look of a man counting what's left to lose. The ex-soldier steps out into the night, leaving the table behind, but knowing the cracks he'd opened would keep widening long after the door closed. The night broke without gunfire, but not without noise. Voices had carried through the dark, sharp, angry, and cracking apart like timber under strain. By the time the first thin light touched the hills, it was done. He walks the road back toward the square, boots damp with dew. The air is cold and clean, in a way it hasn't been for a long time. Ahead, in front of the sheriff's office, something catches the sun. The badge lies there in the dirt, the metal dulled from years on a chest that never deserved it. He stops, looks around. No one claims it. No one dares. He leaves it where it fell. Past the square, the White House stands quiet, curtains still drawn, but the guards are gone. The porch empty. A chair sits tipped on its side near the steps, one leg broken. The roses along the fence look less perfect in the pale light. He doesn't slow. The barn waits beyond the last fence line, its boards silvered in the dawn. He rounds the corner, and there she is. The girl sits at the edge of the well, knees drawn up, something small clasped in her hands. She doesn't look up until he's close. "You came back," she says. "I said I would." She opens her hand. A locket rests in her palm, chain thin as thread. Inside, behind a bit of cloudy glass, is a woman's face. Strong eyes, hair pulled back, a mouth that looks like it's caught between speaking and smiling. "Mama," she says. He takes the locket, turns it in the light. "Where'd you find it?" "In the dirt near the fence." "She dropped it?" "She left it for me." He hands it back. "Then it's yours." She closes her fingers around it, holding it tight. "Can we leave now?" He looks past her to the barn, to the patch of ground where the well cap hides what they can't unsee. The air here feels lighter, but not clean. "Not yet." "Yes," he says. She stands, slipping the chain over her head. The locket settles against her chest, like it's always been there. He crouches so she can climb into his arms. She's lighter than she should be, but she fits against him like she's known the shape of him longer than the past days. They start toward the road. The sun pushes over the horizon, gold spilling across the fields. "Where will we go?" she asks. "Somewhere they don't own the ground." "They own a lot of ground." "Not all of it." She rests her head on his shoulder. "Will we see Mama?" "Yes," he says, steady. "You promise?" "I promise." The road stretches ahead, ruts deep from years of wagon wheels. Birds move in the hedges, the sound small but alive. He keeps his eyes forward, scanning the turns. "They'll follow," she says. "They can try. They always do. Then we'll keep moving." She shifts, looking back over his shoulder. It looks smaller now. "What does?" "The White House." He glances back once. She's right. It sits there, pale and still, like it never held the weight it did just days ago. "They'll fix it," she says. "Maybe." "They'll fill the cellars." "They can try," he says again. The wind picks up, carrying the smell of turned earth and wood smoke. Somewhere ahead, the river glints between the trees. He adjusts his grip on her, feeling her relax into him. "Are you tired?" he asks. "No." "You sound tired." "I don't want to sleep yet." "That's fine." They walk until the barn is just a shadow in the distance. The girl's hand stays wrapped around the locket. The sun climbs higher, burning away the last of the night's chill. When the road bends toward the hills, he doesn't look back again.